You're right there, guys. Welcome out. Today what we're going to be going over are things you shouldn't do when you first start playing Eternal Return. So when you first get into the game, the first screen that you're going to come up to is this screen. Now, one thing I would not recommend doing from the get-go is clicking on save plans, and for instance clicking on a random one, clicking save plans and making a new plan. The reason why is because obviously you don't know how rare specific items are, like how easily they are to obtain, specific routes, etc. If you do want to make your own build, one thing I would suggest doing is going to lumiacraft.xyz. I'll leave a link down below the video for you guys to actually go and create your own builds, and it will show you like a plan of like the best zones to go through, etc. Also, another thing you can do if you don't want to create your own build, which you know you don't have to begin with, is let's go back out of here. Go back here. Obviously, say you want to build a plan for this person. Go to save plans and you can search saved plans. Then what you can do is have a look for newest, or change it to uses. Now the uses one obviously is going to be for different versions. You just look for the higher versions. It will tell you the uses and it will show you the whole build and the planned route. Obviously you want to look for a decent one. As you can see, this one's literally full build within 4 zones, which is actually a pretty decent one. This one, full build within 3. One thing that you can also do here is check what specific stats these plans actually give you for your builds, and obviously then you can cater to the ones that you actually want. You can even go through and obviously once you've imported it, you can actually click the edit button, and if you want to make changes to it yourself, you can. Wouldn't recommend doing it to begin with as a new player. I would recommend you actually learning the character first that you are going to play before actually ended up creating your own plans, etc. So obviously, as you can see, we are in the game now where we are choosing our route, choosing our build, etc. Generally you'll only see the one, which is the recommended plan, unless you've gotten one out of the used, searched for a used plan. Obviously this will show you your route, and obviously how many people are also trying to get into them zones at the start. Don't try and like select random areas that has nothing to do with your route, because it could be detrimental to your run and it could put you behind, which therefore could mean a loss. Now another thing that I would not suggest you do as a beginner is just literally jump straight into a game and select a random character. Now the best thing to do is go to the collection here, and you'll see there are some with padlocks, some with the blue triangle with like a padlock that's unlocked. These are characters that are playable for now for free. Obviously click on them, and one thing you can do once you've clicked on them is you can see the 3 different weapons. Obviously every single weapon has different builds, and obviously gives you different stats. For instance, as you can see, the rapier here gives you more mobility, damage, and some defenses. The sword is, you know, a bit less on all 3, and as you can see, the spear has a lot of damage. Now each one of these will have different plans because you start off with different weapons. One thing I would suggest you do before you get into any games, literally click on the skills on whatever character, go through all the characters until you find a character that you can find that you actually really enjoy, and then obviously you can click through them and actually see the abilities and what they do. You can read their the TDLR, you know, the information on what they actually do, the cooldowns, and how much SP they take. Now what SP is basically a mana bar, which obviously you use for crafting things, for searching things, and for even obviously using abilities, as we can see through here. So obviously what we'll do is we'll go through these. The thing I would not suggest to do is just go in blindly. You can do to get a kind of feel with anyone, but obviously it's not recommended. Now that obviously we've got all the builds and the plans and everything sorted out, one thing that obviously you can do is obviously you select whichever person you've chose to actually try out. Generally you just want to go through a bunch of the people to figure out what you are most comfortable with. I'm most comfortable with Fiora currently with the short spear, but obviously what you'll generally do is you can go through each character and obviously just test a few things. You know, I'd recommend doing that to find out which character you most enjoy. So when you first get into the game, one thing I'd recommend you doing is obviously you should have already looked through all the skills of the person beforehand. Let's look too much skills are best for you. Obviously, as you can see on the right hand side here, it will show you the zone that we are in and what items are going to help us make our build with the yellow triangle. As you saw, this item that we just picked up from the first thing that we opened was obviously the iron ore, which is one thing that we need, and now there's a tick, so then we can move on. Also, another thing you want to check out is excuse me, is the hammer and the spanner icons. That means that obviously they're going to actually build into other things, and you can see in the bottom right here what they build into underneath as you hover over them. Obviously this one on the left, these ice, actually go into a better ice SP item. So because we've got water, it will mix with this. Now, as you can see, there's this guy. Now one thing you don't want to do is what this guy's doing. You see how he's just chasing me? What he's doing this early in the game is wasting my time and wasting his time. So we'll just keep running. Not a big deal. He'll eventually get bored and walk off. And then we run into another person that's just going to chase us. Now, as you can see here, there are a lot of people that aren't actually using their brain, and they're just doing nothing but wasting our time, which is really bad early game. You don't really want to be one of them guys that are just wasting time. You know, you want to be trying to get your build as quickly as possible, because if you get your build, you win, you know? As I was saying, obviously it will put these two together to make a better SP item. So we'll craft that, which is good. It's always good to have SP and HP items, because what these HP and SP items do, you can actually heal while moving. So while you're running, you can press 2, and as you see it's 23. We can press it again and we'll gain obviously double stacks. One way to see how long it's going to be happening for is here, just above your name. Obviously you'll take the next one. Obviously you can go through a few different things like that you can use the SP items for. That one's going to be the better SP item that we build, and that's going to be decent food. You know, man, we just want to try and keep our space, right? Because early game is a waste to fight. That's one thing that you've got to always remember. Early game is going to be a waste to fight. Now, if we click on map, we're going to see that we need to go to pond next. I would recommend also killing level 1 chickens, because they can drop things that you need. Not only that, they can also drop they can also give you XP, obviously XP to leveling up, which is really big. As I said before, I would recommend you kill / attack all of the animals that are a lower level than you, because it's going to help obviously go towards your EXP. Not only that, once we've killed this guy, I don't know how that hit me, but it is what it is. Obviously they can drop food and stuff like that, and one good thing is fish give you a you can cook really good things out of them. So if you right click on an item, it's going to bring up this display here, this craft. Now this is obviously going to waste time. That's why for the first few games you just want to chill out and figure out what it is you need to do to win games, what it is you do good, what it is you do in bad, and just analyzing what you do to actually get you that win. Now, obviously, when you right click on this fish, for instance, we can see what foods it will make and what it will give. You left click on the fish to see what you need. As you can see, that one's going to be, you know, that one isn't too bad to get, but you know, if you don't have the item straight at hand, you can take a while. Left click back on here. We'll left click on this, boiling water. Now I have ice water, so if I had a lighter, you know, we could have built the boiling water and built the spicy fish stew, which is actually a really decent really decent food early game. And obviously, if you just have some bread and you have some carp, make some carp bread as well, which also makes some decent food. Obviously, the more you play the game, the more you will end up understanding what you need to actually make specific foods. And specific SP items, and where you can find the specific things within the map. If you are struggling to get food and SP items, you can always come to specific parts of the map. So for instance, in the forest, you can see this little pool here, right? You can obviously collect water from it to then be able to make SP items. Not only that, these little zones with fishing rods, you can fish for fish, which then also you can actually turn into different HP foods along the way. So another thing I would suggest, you see this zone right here? It is orange and orange, right? And there's only 5 seconds left. That means within 5 seconds, that zone is going to be closed down. So if you're stood inside of any of these zones when they turn red, as you can see, that's turned red and this is turned orange now. So the forest is now turned orange where our hotel is. If we stand inside of here, we have 30 seconds to be able to get out of there. Otherwise, we are dead. You see that we actually came out of there with 27 seconds left. If we go back in, it's still 27 seconds and then 25. You know, so whatever time that you actually leave the zone means how much longer you have while inside of one of them zones. So I would really recommend trying to stay out of them zones as much as possible and try and plan your route around them. If you see that this orange one, we have 2 minutes to actually get to this zone and loot it up. Another thing I'd also recommend for new starters is once you get level 6, you have you are able to unlock your ultimate skill, which obviously always make sure that you take, because it's going to give you a big power boost. Another thing to point out as well, when you've got low HP, instead of wasting your food to actually heal when you're not in combat and stuff, what I'd recommend is obviously just tap in X whenever you are free and not obviously going to be engaged by the enemy, to then be able to rest and get XP to gain health, to gain SP. You can always hit these hyperloops in the zones as well whenever you come close to them, and they will just give you, see that we can see this chick over here. She's a level 13. She is immensely higher than us, and she will destroy us if she sees us. So one thing we gotta do is just be careful and stay away from people like that, right? Now obviously the reason why she's such a high level is many reasons. She's probably been killing a lot of animals along the way that give her a lot of XP. Or she's probably been obviously killing players. Like, killing players gives you a lot of stuff, and if she's been killing a lot of players, we want to be careful, because that means that she has a lot of items, right? And she's pretty far ahead. The one thing to also pay attention is we saw on the map a red triangle. Now when a red triangle appears, that means there are enemies in that area doing something, whether that's crafting, whether that's fighting, you know. So we really want to pay attention to their map at all times, because if you're not ready to fight, if you don't have like full build and stuff, you do generally want to be paying attention to try and stay away from
new area has been restricted.
See, now this person is teleporting out. Let's hope that they're just full teleport out.
If only they could give us Dramamine.
Don't kill me. Okay, she let us leave. So she could have probably attacked us then. And, you know, dealt some damage. Okay, that's great. Another brilliant thing to do is loot dead bodies you find, man, because you can always find something useful on their bodies. Like, you can find different foods, SP items, you know, even like some items, like if you're behind, for instance, I don't have a necklace, right? So a head, sorry. So this person might have a head that I could technically use instead, right? So now that we are nearing the end of the match, obviously we just want to make sure we have
just to have a fair fight.
SP items. We want to make sure that we have all the items that we can possibly have, right? There are also traps that you can build in the game. Obviously, you can just check that out on how to build. As I mentioned, obviously just then, the way to figure out how to build traps and anything else, like any foods, any beverages, you can come here from the home page to the catalog, go to the food, you can click through them, and obviously it will show you on the map every single different location, what animals you need to kill, you know, if there's any specific places. The fish and chips, obviously you need the heated oil, which well, sorry, the French fries, sorry, obviously from animals. And then obviously potatoes, I'll show you where you get potatoes. Same with traps. Any form of surveillance cameras obviously shows you where you can get them from. You know, any sort of spiked traps, how much damage they do. You know, there's the pendulum axe, there's the mithril string, you know, there's all sorts of traps. And obviously if you want to find out how to build them and what components you need, you can obviously click through here on the catalog to find out exactly where you can find all materials for that. It's always good to keep trying to consistently kill animals. One thing you can do is if your zone is locked off that has your item, you can click that item, and as you can see, it will show all the branch areas on the map. For instance, if you need to see where you can get medallions from, it's showing that you can get them from animals and from specific zones. Obviously, if all the zones are closed, you are going to have to just make some stuff up, like in the sense of find different helmets or different pieces that you can use otherwise, due to the simple fact of obviously not being able to create the specific item that you wanted, right? So we are basically full build right now, so we are pretty strong. We want to just now try and make sure that we have as many SP and food items as possible, because now it's all going to be about fighting, right? Got to always be aware of the map. We have 1 minute 40. We are in this zone. If we open up the map, we need to go down to the forest. Consistently keep killing things. As you can see, using oil and using meat, we can make some fried chicken, which gives 510 food. That's a really good food. We just want to be careful, and like especially if we're against a ranged character, we need to make sure to check their level. We might have to try and poke them. There's loads of different things, right? We are full build, so we are pretty strong right now. So now we're just looking for foods, right? Which is really good. Obviously we do need to make sure that we do have SP items. This is an SP food. You know, we just like, even though it's not the greatest, we want to make sure we have SP foods to be able to do something, right? This is a boss that's just spawned in the map.
A survivor has
One
been
thing we can do is we can always try and get the third party, right? But because the map currently is so big, we can't really do that. You want to pre-pop? We know where they are. We need to try and get on top of them. They've been fighting, so they're probably weak.
Survivor has been eliminated. You lost survivor.
Okay, we might actually win this, boys. So obviously you just want to stay calm, right?
Take hold.
Always make sure that your foods are stocked up. We're not going to let her get away. Unless that happens, and obviously we can't do much about that. Obviously we want to get out of that. Now you see how much she's healing? She's basically just trying to full reset, right? Okay. We just need to take it easy. Alright, once again, kite out of it. We don't want her to get that. That's one thing that I was on about when I says you need to figure out what these people. Alright, now we've slowed her. Now once again, if she wants to throw down, that's great. Okay, now she's going all in. Alright, now she's just sucking off of us, sir.
Someone's consecutively eliminating survivors.
Oh,
Fair and square.
no!
You've achieved victory. The
We
last
won!
restricted area
Let's
has been
go,
designated.
guys! I know that was a bit hit and miss there. I'm pretty new to the game myself, so, you know, that's why I was a bit wavy and I wasn't straight to the point. But, you know, you get the gist of it, man. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If there are things that I missed out, I do apologize. I'll try and get them in. But yeah, have a beautiful day. Good night, God bless. And I hope this guide helped. Peace.